6 p.m. in Kupe-Manunguba Division, Southwest region of Cameroon. Same time right here in Duala. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. Heavy downpours have brought some parts of Duala to a standstill, with many neighborhoods submerged in flood waters. Residents of Panjo in the Duala 4 subdivision are among the worst affected, with homes flooded and valuable items ruined. And away from that, days after officially announcing his candidacy for the October presidential election via his X account, the head of state, Buea, made his first appearance. He received the Apostolic Nuncio to Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea yesterday. The meeting comes amid growing calls from Cameroonians for the head of state to make an official televised statement or address on the upcoming presidential election and other key issues affecting the nation. Those are top stories. The news in full in a jiffy. Once more, thank you so much for choosing Equinoxe Television for presentation. I am Immaculate Fogwe. We begin with this sad story where shock and dismay gripped inhabitants of the Granganga neighborhood in Bonaberry in the Duala 4 subdivision after the lifeless body of a man known as Aye Kenneth, 42 years old, was discovered in his room. Kenneth, who had played a football match the previous day, had not experienced any health issues according to neighbors and friends. Now, let's hear from one of his teammates who was on the pitch on that day, and he explains to us what he noticed on that same day. Let's take a listen to him in this excerpt.
On Sunday, this guy in question, we had the football tournament in town. He's my colleague. He played the match. We all started the match, and he played very well. He complained of nothing, like everything was fine. We played the match very well, and it was the second half that the coach chose to move him. So he never complained about anything that was disturbing him. So at the end of the day, now the match draw 2-2. Then we came back, all of us together. So we came to Afo come down there. So he was the one that shared everything. We came and we shared everything, and later on we separated. So only by surprise this morning that we were shocked that he was dead in his house.
An unfortunate incident that occurred there in the Granganga neighborhood. And we stay in Duala, where torrential rains have submerged several neighborhoods in the city of Duala, disrupting daily life and causing widespread damage. In Panjo, a locality in the Duala 4 subdivision, residents are struggling to cope with the aftermath of the floods, with homes and belongings ruined by the floods. Ase Lucilegu reports on the situation.
In what resembles a mini lake, two teenagers struggle to make their way through despite the risks involved. This is as a result of the downpour that has battered the city of Duala for the past days. The inhabitants of Panjo in the Duala 4 subdivision also woke up with their feet in water, just like in a swimming pool.
Rain fell in the night. We woke up, water was everywhere. If you look at our houses, water has entered our houses. Since morning, look at how we are. We have been removing water, we have been cleaning the houses. Everywhere is wet, everywhere.
The entire neighborhood was inaccessible, making movement in and out difficult. A sad reality for many who were unable to go about their daily activities. In the neighborhoods, the inhabitants say the cause of the inundation is a building constructed on water channels.
I've been here for this, my 4th year that I've been here. This water was passing, but it seems as if somebody came and bailed on where the water had to pass. And now like this, the water cannot find its way.
The waters are really coming from the Vuri River. There are a lot of branches in here, so we need channeling and engineering to drain this water from this place.
They further say they have complained, but a positive solution is still awaited.
Ils ont délaissé la population à elle-même. Nous sommes les orphelins, on ne dort plus à cause de l'eau.
And we actually have applied to the urban council, to the council in Bonaberry. They've had a lot of visits here, and there has been no solution found. We've gone to the Bonamicano chief. We've had a lot of meetings there, and they've just nobody's coming with any solutions.
Like Panjo in the Duala 4 subdivision, several parts of the city have been affected by floods since the beginning of the rainy season, rendering circulation a significant challenge. Those living in inundated zones are now experiencing sleepless nights.
Asia Liengo reporting there. And still on our human interest page, cocoa farmers in the Dian and Meme divisions of the southwest region of Cameroon are crying out over the deplorable state of roads, which is severely impacting their livelihoods. Transporting cocoa to market has become a daunting task, with high transportation costs eating deep into their already meager profits. Malagla reports on the plight faced by these farmers in this part of Cameroon.
There are over 7 villages spread across this road, which stretches from Buea Bakundu to Pondo Balue in the Ndian and Meme division in the southwest region. These include Bombele, Bangele, Kombe Balue, just to name a few. The people here are predominantly farmers, and cocoa is a top revenue for them. Their major challenge is the road which connects them to the main town of Komba and even to Duala, where they transport their farm produce.
From month of July, August, September, it's about cocoa to be transported. Before the transport of cocoa is a problem. The prices, the bag prices are so high because the road is not easy. Before the bag reach in Bobanda, you saw you might form 7 or 8 times the road. The roads are all bad.
One bag cocoa from here to Kumba is 20,000 francs. Or you look at the road from Boa, come right to Gumbele, going up to Kumbe. Has been a lot of suffering.
The poor nature of the road has not only contributed to the economic hardship, but is life-threatening.
Even to transport of some of our children, when they are sick, for us to go to the hospital is very difficult. Sometimes in the road we realize some of them are dead because of the condition of the road. You see the village like this, it's a beautiful village where people are coming from Kumba, Duala to come and do business here. But they have stopped coming. Even for us to go to our next village to go and bring our produce, it takes a lot of time because of the bad road. The student to go to school is not easy because the produce we cannot sell them. That's why you see us, most of our children, they are still in the house.
The broken bridges in Bangele, Kumbe and others have exposed the locals to health risk and other dangers, as many are obliged to pass through the water with the bags of cocoa and other luggages. While the people continue to suffer on this road, they plead with the authorities that be to address the situation in order to better their lives.
And now we talk something else. The Apostolic Nuncio to Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea, Monsignor Jose Avelino Batencourt, has confirmed that President Paul Biya is in good health. This affirmation came during a 30-minute audience at the Unity Palace in Yaoundé. According to Monsignor Batencourt, the meeting was part of normal diplomatic relations between Cameroon and the Vatican, and he conveyed good wishes from Pope Leo XIV to the President. Annabella tells us more about the strategic meeting.
Days after 92-year-old President Paul Biya declared on the virtual space his candidacy for the upcoming presidential election, Paul Biya appears in public for the first time as he received in audience the Apostolic Nuncio to Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea, Monsignor Jose Avelino Batencourt. Official information from the presidency indicates that the visit is to strengthen the already existing ties between the Holy See and the state of Cameroon. After discussing with President Paul Biya for close to 30 minutes at the Unity Palace, the Apostolic Nuncio affirms that Paul Biya is doing just fine, contrary to public opinion.
Le président Biya est très bien et il m'a très bien reçu.
This affirmation seems not to have started correctly with Reverend Father Ludovic Lado. On his Facebook handle, the Jesuit priest writes that the moment for this audience is not the best. An old man of above 90 should normally no longer be treating important files concerning the state. Father Ludovic Lado adds that Paul Biya at this moment can easily be deceived or led astray. However, the Apostolic Nuncio goes further to say he as well brought good tidings from Pope Leo XIV to the head of state. The relationship between Cameroon and the Holy See, according to the Apostolic Nuncio, has always been cordial. Arriving from home, His Lordship Jose Avelino says it's just normal to pay courtesy visits to the head of state. This very first public outing of Paul Buea after declaring his intention to represent the CPDM in October comes at a time Cameroonians in and out of the country have been raising their voices, sending cries of distress on the future of the country, which has been in the hands of a group of elderly people for over 40 years now.
Annabella ending this first part of the news. Coming up next, episode 7 of tonight's edition of Cameroon Today. Stay with us. Do you know that an inhabitant of Afia village can refuse a stranger drinking water because of the long distance they need to cover to fetch it? What's even more frustrating is that the village sits just few kilometers from a power plant, yet they remain in darkness. Located in Dumé subdivision of the East region, Afia inhabitants blame their developmental setbacks on authorities who only visit during electoral periods. Magic and Gable reports on the plight faced by the people of this area.
The signpost, almost covered by grass while crossing the bridge, indicates to us how we could arrive at Mapang village in Dumé subdivision. Few kilometers from here is an extraordinary electricity plant which was supposed to supply power to Abombang, Mapang and other surrounding villages, but the reality is cruel. Some kilometers further, we arrive in Afia village, far from our camera, at a local drinking spot. Discussions about the end of mandate are being done with cups of drinks. Pierre, head of a neighborhood, is a well-respected man in the village. He has completely lost hopes about life. This is a hut. Who in Cameroon today still want to continue in this type of house? While others are keeping all what Cameroonians are supposed to share. The poor, like us, what are we going to pay cement companies with? Ironically, the soil here is rich for the cultivation of cocoa and coffee, but unfortunately, no roads, as even the youths have run to town. No one has hopes for a better future again. We lack everything here. They refuse youths from working on land that their governments, of which they abandoned. The elite come and fight against the young ones not to work. I don't understand this. Several projects have been announced by different ministries and signboards erected but have never been seen by the beneficiaries. They have been promising us for several years that they will tar the Mapang and Gusas roads. I'm 43 years old. The blame is on the people around Paul Buea. Each person wants to be fine at the detriment of others. We are suffering, but they are good because Buea is doing well, but those around him are not. Each person comes to the village to lie because they want their positions. Each person wants a position. It's not Paul Buea. This section of the country is dying in silence. Today, in schools, they are telling us about computer studies, but these computers work with electricity. It's very normal for my child to score a 0 because electricity has been excluded for them, but reserved for others. Afia village is still waiting for the first drop of water. If you come to Afia and someone welcomes you with water, don't say the person is wicked because he has covered a distance of 2 kilometers and waited for almost about an hour to fetch it. And it is possible for the people to deny you water as a result of the distance. Politicians will always come during election period to fool us, but when it's passed, they disappear. Afia village is also waiting for the first lighted bulb from the state and abandoned people who are asking to live in a dignified manner and hoping to walk on a tarred road.
An unfortunate there in Afia village. And now out of Cameroon, Nigeria's former president Muhammadu Buhari has passed away, but his legacy lives on. particularly in the strengthened relations between Cameroon and Nigeria. During his tenure, the two countries transitioned from cautious neighbors to strategic partners. Despite existing economic disparities, the Buea era saw significant security gains against regional terrorism, notable infrastructure projects, and establishment of institutional mechanisms for future cooperation. Fomi Armstrong Sanda has more on this.
Relations between Cameroon and Nigeria took a significant turn for the better during the presidency of Paul Biya and Muhammadu Buhari that ran between 2015 and 2023. The two leaders strengthened ties between their nations, achieving remarkable success in security, economy, and diplomacy. One of the most notable achievements of the Buhari era was the enhanced security cooperation against Boko Haram. The activation of the multinational joint task force in 2015 marked a significant milestone in the fight against terrorism. The multinational joint task force, comprising troops from Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, and Niger, has been instrumental in degrading Boko Haram strongholds and reducing terrorist mobility across the region. The two presidents also prioritized economic cooperation, with the commissioning of the Ekok border bridge being a landmark project. This bridge has facilitated easy trade and connectivity between the two countries, boosting economic activities in the region. Diplomatic reconciliation was another key area of focus for the Buhari administration. The two leaders worked to resolve historical tensions between the nations, including the demarcation of their contested 1,500 kilometers border. High-level visits between the two presidents resulted in the signing of several cooperation agreements, solidifying the partnership between Cameroon and Nigeria. The Buhari era marked a significant shift in Cameroon-Nigeria relations from cautious neighbors to strategic partners. Their legacy includes decisive security gains against regional terrorism, tangible infrastructure projects, and institutional mechanism for future cooperation. As both countries look to the future, the foundation laid during this era will undoubtedly continue to bear fruit.
And may his soul continue to rest in peace. That's it for the second part of the news. Talking Point is up next. Tonight on Talking Point, we'll be looking at the 40 million francs CFA offered to the head of state by some youths of the ruling CPDM party. And my guest tonight is Honorable MALOMBA ESEMBE. He is a CPDM MP for Buea Urban Constituency. Good evening, Honorable MALOMBA. It's a pleasure having you on Talking Point tonight.
Thank you so much, Immaculate. It's always my pleasure to be on your set.
Honorable MALOMBA, can you confirm to us the source of the 40 million francs CFA handed over for President Paul Biya's campaign by delegation of young people in which you were a member? Was it collected from genuine youth supporters or sourced from somewhere else?
The source is from the revenue of many young Cameroonians from all the 10 regions of the country who donated voluntarily for this drive to support the candidacy of their champion, their candidate, President Paul Biya. Young persons from all walks of life, young professionals from different domains, politics, administration, business, and even those in the informal sector. Likewise, students, and even some who are unemployed, but out of conviction, gave willingly to this drive.
Now, you rightly mentioned some of these people who contributed are unemployed. Given President Paul Biya's 43-year tenure, what drives your group's support for his candidacy, especially for someone who is unemployed? And don't you think his age, 92 years old, raises concerns about his ability to effectively lead this country for the next 7 years?
You know, wisdom does not expire. At 92, we have a wise man with plenty of experience and with a good vision for our country. And the investment we've made as young people is not just in a person, but it's for stability. because wisdom is not a setback, it is rather a shield. And we see in President Buea the right man at this time in the life of our nation who guarantees stability and continuity. I must tell you, what many will want to think, and which I believe is wrong, transitions have to be planned, not provoked. History has shown that abrupt transitions in young and fragile democracies, like the case of Cameroon, often have huge human and financial cost. And we, the youths, this large number of youths who were part of this project, do not want chaos. We prefer continuity, we prefer a transition in which there is generational convergence like we see today in Cameroon, and not one where there will be implosion. And the person who guarantees this convergence, the person who guarantees this continuity is President Paul Biya.
Mentioned that youth of the CPDM party don't want chaos. So you really believe that what the president hasn't been able to do for the past 43 years, all of a sudden, at the age of 92, Cameroonians should expect a miracle? And by the way, do you believe your loyalty to President Paul Biya supersedes the welfare and interests of the broader Cameroonian population, particularly in light of the country's pressing challenges such as unemployment, rising insecurity, and chronic underdevelopment, as we have watched in the reports done by our reporters on the field?
Earlier, the interest of my peers with the youth who were part of this project is Cameroon first and foremost. Without denying, we are loyal to the man, President Biya, and the vision he carries. But the interest is the stability and the prosperity of our country. You see, there is no way you can fix a leaking roof of a house if you destroy the house itself. Likewise, I will say no one will be chasing rats when the house is on fire. You've mentioned pressing challenges. One of them, like you've also rightly mentioned, is poverty. To fix the issue of poverty, we need a stable country. And who guarantees stability among all the candidates who are flaunting themselves out there? Invariably, it is President Paul Biya. And this is the reason why we, the young people, we have made an investment in his candidacy. Because we know also that by doing this, we will be listened to more. We will be involved more. Actually, it is a hand which is stretched out to us by President Biya. And that's why I keep inviting young people. Let us seize this opportunity to work with President Biya and his government so we become an even greater part of the conversation. And for this, we will work together in a dispensation of generational convergence to fix the pressing issues in our country, among them poverty.
Now, Honorable, how will you respond to critics who argue that the contribution is out of touch with reality, given that approximately 10 million Cameroonians live below the poverty line? And we saw on the reports done by the National Institute for Statistics that says that 813 francs is the amount being used per Cameroonian a day. And now we see youths offering the head of state 40 million francs. Don't you see some sort of disparity as far as the national cake is concerned?
No, to claim that our donation of 40 million francs to President Paul Biya is not in touch with reality is missing the point. You know very well that many of us, the young people who were involved in this drive, are already involved in so many community outreach activities, educational programs, sponsoring entrepreneurship in our different localities. For my case, your TV has so many times covered my activities in my constituency, where I'm always out there trying to attend to the needs of the people at the base. But mind you, political investment is also a form of service. What we have done as young people is investing in a vision. We are right now in a marketplace. Many candidates, everybody flaunting a vision, a purported vision for the country. And it is for all of us, the customers in this marketplace, to make an informed decision. Now, we, these young people who have done this gesture towards President Buea and his candidacy, it is because we strongly believe that to be assertive, to make your voice heard and even stronger, you have to enter the process. And we've chosen this angle, this entry point, buying into a man's vision, supporting his candidacy, knowing that by doing so, it portends a better and a greater place, not just for young people, whom he himself, in his declaration, in his announcement, has said the coming mandate, if given to him, focus will be on the youths and on women. We have simply made the political investments. And you know what investments are all about. Anybody who invests is definitely looking on return on his investments. With President Paul Biya, we are sure, and that's why we are doing our utmost best to convince you, our peers, the electorates, Cameroonians, all and sundry, that this is the best man for the job. He guarantees stability, he guarantees continuity, and he guarantees development in peace for our country. Because with the others, we are not sure of what they are offering. There is no track record any of them can really put on the table to show what they have done that will merit them sitting in this high office.
Now, Honorable Malomba, from your explanation, one would think everything is moving on well in Cameroon, whereas we know we have corruption, the roads are bad from every sector. We talk about rising insecurity. Up north, we have Boko Haram. Over in the far north region, we have Boko Haram. And also we go to the northwest region. We go to the southwest region. We talk about the Anglophone crisis that has been there for over 8 years now. If you go to Bedwa in the east region, we'll be talking about Selika rebels. And also, we can equally talk about rising unemployment. We can talk about so many ills that is eating deep into in this country. Don't you feel ashamed being part of a regime critics consider as a failure? Also, don't you think it'll be more beneficial to focus on addressing the country's socio-economic challenges rather than investing in a political campaign? Many Cameroonians are in dire need of change at the moment.
But how do you solve a country's socio-economic challenges in a democracy when you don't first of all address the issue of who will be in the driving seat? We've simply made an investment as conscious young people. We are not pawns. We were not manipulated. The funds came from nowhere else but our pockets, because we believe that by choosing the right person for the job, we will be also contributing to address the socio-economic challenges of the country. President Paul Biya has a track record, not just of echoing the sentiments of young people, but of actually putting in place programs, projects, and policies which address these concerns. And so our decision to invest in his candidacy and his upcoming campaign is an informed one. Again, we are telling young people, and we are telling Cameroonians generally, what we need in a very volatile region, continent, and even global space is stability. Development has never come in chaos. Earlier on, I mentioned that for a young and fledgling democracy like Cameroon, it is very important for us to maintain stability if we want to achieve these critical ends, which are especially peace and development.
Honorable Malomba, thank you so much for accepting my invitation on Talking Point tonight.
Thank you so much, Emma. Thank you for having me, and good evening to all viewers of Equinoxe Television.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for always staying with us. That's what put a cap to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast. Stay in the company of more interesting programs on Equinoxe TV. Bye-bye for now.